just because this is suffering and this is the response to suffering, and we're both part of the same thing. And that's the way I like to play it from. That's, to me, it's like riding a wave. It's the joy of just being part of the force of compassion in the universe.
Well, when you look, you mentioned in your talk the other night, since some people think the 90s are going to be a second turn of the spiral, I observed the 60s as a spear-carrying 14-year-old. I was down in the masses. What were the mistakes that are avoidable if there's a second chance?
They're inevitably going to be avoided. The first mistake was idealism. The first mistake, and the mistake was thinking that because you had seen it, you could just go like that and everybody else would see it. And you could just say, it's all love, and then everybody would love. I mean, it was a naivete. It was naivete. It was not working on ourselves deeply enough to be without the clinging of mind that made us try to use it. It was our lurking righteousness that got in our way.
Can you make a revolution, though, without an inner righteousness?
That's the far-out question of where would the action come from? And there's this line in Buddhism that says, out of emptiness arises compassion. And what I experience is that there is a way in which I can sit down in front of a truck or feed a person or go make love or go surf, and there is an appropriateness in every one of those acts. And for me to hear that, I've really got to shut up. And my work is to keep shutting up, to hear which one it is. And if it is a revolution, so be it. Mm-hmm. So be it. You know the story of the monk and the army general? You know, and the army general's disemboweling all the monks? And his reputation has spread far and wide as a cruel, cruel man. And he comes into this village and he says to his adjutant, tell me what's happening. And the adjutant said, all the people are frightened, they're bowing down to you. All the monks in the monastery have fled to the hills but one monk. And the general was outraged about this one monk. And he gets up and he goes to the monastery and he pushes open the doors of the monastery and he walks into the courtyard, and there's the monk standing in the middle of the courtyard. And he walks up to him and he says, don't you know who I am? I could take my sword and run it through your belly without blinking an eye. And don't you know who I am? I could have your sword run through my belly without blinking an eye.
That's great.
That's the place from which revolutions can heal, rather than just starting the cycle all over again.
Then this is the place we never found in the 60s. Mm-mm. I mean, I've always said it was all well and good.
We reduced it to revolution, and although we had the taste of evolution, we reduced it to revolution.
Well, in the day they came with machine guns, we didn't stand like that monk. Everybody said, oh my God, you could get killed playing this game. And I flew to Laos and India for 3 years.
But already we had produced the they by being so busy being we.
True.
Because so that they even noticed we. The fact that they noticed us was because we were busy making statements instead of just being it.
So maybe, I mean, this is just occurring to me, that being in a place like Prague, the real thing we have to learn here is how to make velvet revolutions, non-confrontational.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's why I admire Havel so much. That's why he's way up there in my, because he's a compassionate leader. He's got wisdom, not just knowledge. He is tuned. There's a quality of his heart that feels present. And he said in this op-ed article, I just read his letter last month.
I've read it too.
And you know, at one point he said, we have to allow the naturalness to come back, the personal stuff, the heart stuff. I mean, he was right there with all of the...
Do you see, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't, let me preface it by saying, do you see anybody who could play that role for the millions of kids in England and the United States who are now asking, where do we go from here?
No.
Is that good or bad?
I guess the situation hasn't demanded the emergence of that being it.
Of those kinds of
Because it can't be anybody that comes forward and says, I'm it.
Oh no, it has to be someone who the people
But the
say
situation
you're
can
it.
demand the formation. I mean, you watch, does the man make the time or does the time make the man? You know, and you can feel how what took a certain person 20 years, like to ride a bicycle, somebody later on can ride a bicycle like that because the whole culture rides bicycles. There's some, like, process where the situation emerges where the person has to come forward and they're just forced out. I mean, I go and I look at all the senators that are running for this or that, and I go to breakfast with them and I listen and I tune. And Jerry Brown I hung out with, and I said, you know, he's got interesting ideas, but as his heart, my God, he's got work to do. This poor guy, he's suffering so much. And I love him, and I want those ideas out, but I want him to work on himself, you know, and so I don't
do you really care in terms of political terms whether Jerry Brown makes himself palatable to an electorate?
I care because I work with the Mayan widows in Guatemala, and I feel like I'm representing them, and our government, our administration's policies are killing them and their children and their husbands. And some way I've got to play my part as a member of a society that is imposing so much suffering on so many people. I can't just walk away and say, oh, I'm helping the nice Mayans. I've also got to realize I'm an American citizen that's hurting the Mayans, and I've got to play both games to change one way and to do the other thing.
So there's a kind of, not to go egghead, but a kind of coincidentia positorum, because on one level what you're saying is, it's all right, don't worry. And on another level, you clearly are involved in a search for defining your role, where you would do some good.
Optimum judo move.
Optimum judo move. So it isn't enough to just say the system will take care of itself.
But I am part of the system that is taking care of itself.
So it's a sense of acting without acting through self.
It's being not identified with the actor and not being identified with the fruits of the action. That's, I mean, to me, one of my basic texts is the Bhagavad Gita, and those are the two injunctions. And I really hear those. And they're very weird. How you do an act when you're not identified with being the actor and you're not attached to the fruits. I mean, I lead this funny, continuous paradox that suffering stinks and suffering's grace. And I live with both of those all the time.
Well, I think most people do, don't you
I think most people have taken a position.
Oh, that suffering is bad, they hate it, they want to keep it away from it.
Or that it's grace, and it's, you know, lovely.
Well, and then the great masses of people never really draw the distinction, because for them suffering is like air and water.
It's life. It's life.
It comes with it.
Life,
burying the many children you bear.
That's why I found in the villages in India less suffering than I found around the middle class in America.
Certainly less whining.
Well, less preoccupation with what they don't have.
Well, they have a philosophy of reincarnation that must sustain them.
There is something else that's feeding them.
Where we have a philosophy of, you know, if you don't get it now, you never will. Exactly.
We threw out in the councils of Nicaea, Trent, and Constantinople just the thing that would have healed, but we did it so that the church could have power over.
Well, I think it was Friedrich Nietzsche who said there was only one Christian and they crucified him.
Yes, exactly. Oh, God, that's so good. That's such a good line. Here comes...
Now, have you been waiting for me? Because I'm the waiter, I need to wait.
We've been looking everywhere for you, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been waiting for the here and now, but that was somewhere else.
Well,
but can I help you here a bit?
You can help us here, and you can help us
now.
there.
Very good. I'll help you here. I hope you enjoy my conversation. No, I mean,
do we get a check, or is this all on the house?
No, I am the check. I am the check. This is Prague, my sir. God is everywhere, but Czechland is here, you know? Okay. I keep one more bottle for you in the refrigerator.
Hold it in
but not in the here and now. In the somewhere else, maybe later. But see you.
Well, my